I'm a female teen, and I have two brothers, 18 and younger teen. We lost our mom when I was 3, and our dad remarried stepmom a year later. It felt like they had known each other for about a month when they got married, but it's possible they were together longer. About a month after Mom died, Dad was in a widows and widowers group, and that's how he met his wife, Beth. Beth lost her husband and had no kids. When they got married, they set us down and told us Beth was going to adopt us. My older brother and I objected, but we were ignored. Around that time, we heard some extended family try to talk them out of it as well, saying we would be taken care of if anything happened to our father. No need to go through with the adoption. Beth told them that she was our mother now, and the adoption needed to happen. We spoke to a social worker and the judge before the adoption occurred. Initially, their request was rejected based on our conversations, but then they came up with a story that we'd have no one else to take care of us, and our family had already said they wouldn't raise us if anything happened to our dad, and it was done. We had new birth certificates since the adoption. Her name is in place of our mother. Found that out when I gave my mom's name in school one day and had to bring in my birth certificate and saw Beth's name. My brothers had no idea what happened either. It made my older brother angry so much that he told Beth he hoped she would die and we could be adopted again, since she was far more replaceable than Mom. That incident made Beth and our father put him into therapy with them. That lasted for 2 years until he moved out last year. He then asked our maternal grandparents to adopt him, since he couldn't find a way to reverse the adoption. Recently, Beth and my father have figured out that I want to do the same, and so does my younger brother. Beth broke down and said she just wanted the chance to be a mother and wanted us to love her back. My father suggested we all go to therapy, separate sessions with each of us, and try to work out a compromise. I told him it was too late for that. They had already erased Mom, and nothing they could say would make me feel any different about what they did. I told Beth we were never her children, and she would need to accept that she would never be loved back. My father told me that wasn't true. We could still work something out, like have our grandparents adopt us, but call him and Beth Mom and Dad, and still let them be parents and grandparents in the future. When I said there was no room for compromise and that it was too late, they said I was being so unfair. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but your father and Beth sure are. Beth is the kind of stepmom that gives step-parents a bad name. She wanted to adopt you and your brothers because she just wanted the chance to be a mother, so she hijacked the 3 of you and promptly erased your mother's memory. But your father's even worse because he allowed all this to happen over your wishes, and so quickly after your mom's death. It just sounds like he wanted to get a replacement mom in the door as quickly as possible so the family could regain a semblance of normalcy, but in the process, he prioritized Beth's agenda over his kids' feelings and well-being. Mother-child bonds and love can't be forced, and this is what he tried to do. Do you know what those groups practice? Not making life-altering decisions for at least a year and allowing children time to grieve too. OP's dad did so much wrong, and bringing another grieving widow into his situation so they could fill voids in each other instead of doing the difficult work of recovery was dumb. Let's be real. OP's dad remarried so quickly because he needed someone to do emotional and household labor and help him raise his 3 young children. Don't go to therapy with liars until you have a relationship with a therapist who understands what you're dealing with and is committed to being on your team. And maybe, are you in the possession of any photos of your mom? You might want to hunt those down now. I would also contact the hospital where you were born to see how you can get a copy of your original, unaltered birth certificate. They lied before a judge, so that might be an avenue to delete the adoption. Long story short, my ex-wife and I are divorced. We share custody of our preteen son. I usually buy my son stuff and send them to his mom's house since I travel a lot for work. The thing is, I'd sometimes see his mom's husband wearing the stuff I get for him, my son, like when I bought him a dinosaur wristband. I accidentally saw my ex's husband wearing it in a photo they posted on Facebook. It kept happening, and I had to speak to my ex-wife, and she said her husband does this while playing with our son. I expressed my grief and discomfort regarding the issue and got brushed off. Last week, I had a business meeting abroad and couldn't go with my son to watch a baseball game. I'd already bought and sent him a baseball glove a while back, and later in the day, I saw a pic on Facebook of his mom's husband wearing the freaking glove on his hand while taking a photo with my son. I immediately canceled my trip and went home to discuss this issue since my ex-wife was minimizing the situation. I had a massive argument with her. I never speak to her husband at all, and I banned my son from letting his mom's husband touch or wear anything I got or will get for him. My ex-wife started screaming at me, which caused our son to cry, and she called me an idiot, saying that her husband was just trying to let our son have fun and that wearing the glove was to cheer him up or make him laugh or something. I refused to discuss this further, but she decided to escalate by calling my mom, who unusually sided with her and told me I was being unreasonable and unfair towards my son. I just feel like I'm protecting my boundaries after being brushed off for so long. But am I the idiot? Info. You seriously canceled a business trip because this dude put on a baseball glove? Respectfully, you are the idiot. It sounds like you're getting mad about the stuff when I think, in reality, you're more upset about how present your son's stepdad is in his life. Banning your son from sharing his things and experiences with his stepdad accomplishes nothing except making you look like a controlling idiot. You should want your son to have a happy and healthy relationship with the other close adult in his life. If there are items you genuinely don't want going to mom's house, then they need to be kept at your place. I just feel like I'm protecting my boundaries. What? It's a young child's baseball glove. What kind of lesson would your son learn if he was told, "This is just for you. Don't let stepdad touch it"? The lesson would be, my biological father is selfish, jealous, and obsessive. Yeah, the dude stalked his ex's Facebook and canceled a trip, forbade his son from sharing his gifts, and got into a screaming match with his ex-wife over a glove that stepdad played with? OP, you're embarrassing yourself and genuinely being an awful father to your son in this regard. Growing up with a parent like you will put cracks in his heart. He will spend decades of therapy trying to patch up. Grow up, look in the mirror, and do better. When my wife and I married, we decided that she would be a stay-at-home mom. She's Russian and has gone no contact with her family since around the time we got married, since they're awful. She came here as a student. We have a young daughter. Our arrangement was that I gave her an allowance for buying anything she wanted for herself. Then I paid for other expenses that we both agreed on. So I make more than enough for all of us. It's always been a point of contention, and she wanted me to increase her allowance. Sometimes when we disagree on a purchase, like a toy for our daughter, she'll use her allowance to get it, and then expects me to reimburse her allowance for it. Additionally, she wants to buy expensive makeup and use it, even for just going out to see friends casually. Recently, since our daughter started school, she started doing a few gig jobs like dog walking. I was not for it, but I couldn't stop her from doing what she wanted. However, the time she spends doing that means that she has less time to be a stay-at-home mom, so I told her recently that I expect her to pay for the house expenses proportionally to what she earns. She disagreed and said I could just reduce her allowance as she now earns. She got quite angry with me, and we fought. Things seem better now, but sometimes I feel she's still a little upset. She used some minor things against me, like the few times I've asked her for money, as I didn't have any change for small purchases. Was I the idiot here? It's only fair to change the arrangement now that she works. You are the idiot. Financial abuse has entered the chat. Congratulations, though. I've never seen a man get cranky because his wife likes to wear makeup when she's meeting with friends. Why do you treat your wife as a kid rather than an equal partner in the marriage. She's your wife, not a roommate, not a slave or a child. Jesus, you sound super controlling. Legally, half of your money is hers anyway. Stop trying to control her. Is your allowance the same amount as hers? I'm a stay-at-home mom and work part-time. All the money goes into our account, and we sit down and do a budget every month. We each have our own account as we move personal spending money to each week. It's the same amount for both of us. You are essentially paying her to be your wife and homemaker. She was obviously more vulnerable to this abuse since you chose someone without a family to help her. What do you know about makeup? Women are under a lot of pressure to keep up appearances, and let's not kid ourselves. You'd be here posting about how you're mad she's letting herself go if she wasn't. You don't have a wife or want a wife. You desire a housekeeper who will sleep with you. Hopefully, she's stashing her earnings away so she can leave you. Update. I get it. I'm an idiot. I know I have controlling restrictions on her. We rushed into marriage for her visa issues, as she could not find a job and married me. I always intended to lessen them once I trusted her, and I realize I really do. My dad insisted I be careful because of what people say about Russian brides. She has an Ivy degree in physics, and I know her dream is to be in science. I will talk to her and see if she wants to get a master's or try getting jobs again now that she has a permanent residence. And I will tell her to just use the shared account for any expenses, as long as it's not like $1,000 expense. I have a preteen daughter, Rose. Rose is prone to ear infections. She recently had a double ear infection and couldn't go to school on Friday because she had a low-grade fever. I had to go to work and couldn't get a babysitter, so my sister-in-law offered to keep her for me. Everything seemed to go well until I picked Rose up. And my sister-in-law told me she had put breast milk she has an infant in Rose's ears to help with the ear infection. She even offered to send some home in a dropper bottle so I could keep giving it to her. She claims it's an excellent remedy, and Rosie's already feeling better. I couldn't believe that she did this to my child without asking. I yelled at her for it. We argued, and I told her she'd no longer be able to babysit or be around Rose unsupervised. Now Rose is upset that she can't go to her auntie's house anymore, and my brother called me to say that I upset his wife. She was just trying to help and that I overreacted. This is a woman putting her bodily fluids in my child's ear. I think I have a right to be upset. It seems that everyone is against me on this, so I wanted to know if I was the idiot for banning her from babysitting or being around Rose unsupervised. Not the idiot, but this does seem like an overreaction. Yes, she definitely should have asked first. I think labeling breast milk as bodily fluids, while accurate, is lumping it in with unsanitary things you'd never put in a kid's body. I've had pediatricians recommend putting breast milk in ears for ear infections, in eyes to clear eye boogers, and bathing them in it to help eczema. It's not like she was putting pee in your kid's ear. This is something that's pretty common and recommended by some doctors. Again, she should have asked first, but never letting your kids see them again for this seems extreme. She was just trying to help. It wasn't malicious. One quick Google brings up how breast milk is not effective against eye infections. It can actually cause more harm as it can introduce more bacteria into the eye, leading to more serious infection and risking the long-term health of the eye. The same is said for ear infections. Thankfully, doctors in the UK aren't suggesting this at all. This whole story has such a do-your-own-research energy. Breastfeeding has been found to reduce the incidence of ear infections due to jaw movements. No peer-reviewed source anywhere is going to tell you to put your own, let alone someone else's breast milk, into your child's ear. Breast milk is a wonderful source of nutrition for tiny humans, but inserting something made of fluid and nutrition, including proteins and sugars, into something that's essentially a fine musical instrument, Jesus. Ears are a really delicate system, and introducing random stuff into them can cause ear infections, pain, and deafness. Well, I wish I could say that I can't believe people are that dumb. However, I'm over 40, and my oldest is nearly an adult. I've heard it all when he was a baby. I thought for sure it still wouldn't be going on, but apparently, you can still slap that BS on everything. LOL. I got married about a month ago, and we were able to go on a 3-week honeymoon in Europe, so this was my first week back at work. This was possible because my wife's family paid for the whole wedding, so we could use what my parents planned to contribute for the honeymoon and then combine all we had saved with all the gift money as a down payment on a house. The only catch is that my wife's family is from an anti-alcohol religion, and they not only said they would only pay for a dry wedding and would only ever come to New York from Utah for that. My wife was leaving the religion as we met in college and is fully out now. To their credit, the parents haven't excommunicated her, but whenever we're out there to visit, we fully have to play the part. No drinking, no cursing, church on Sunday, and I sleep on the couch. I didn't want to get wasted at my wedding anyway, plus my parents got them to at least allow champagne for toast. My parents paid for that, so we didn't feel it necessary to mention this on the invites, but apparently, having a dry wedding in New York requires notification. The reception was at the same place as the ceremony, so as the bride and I were about to enter, we were in the hallway, and I saw my coworker and her husband making for an exit, and we asked where they were going. We were about to enter. Coworker was at a loss for words, but the husband straight up said, "Heading out, kinda in bad taste, not to mention a wedding is dry," on the invite. Now, we didn't particularly care that these two were leaving, but my wife was worried it was a sign of things to come. She was right. Not only were more than half of the wedding attendees gone before the cake, but other people also expressed their displeasure. So there were two conflicts. First, my father-in-law made a comment about how disrespectful everyone leaving was, and that my friends and family reflected poorly on me. I snapped and said it was because of the BS I agreed to follow, and that he should know going forward that my wife and I will not be conforming to any of his standards, and if he wants to keep seeing us, expect me to drink and speak the way I actually do in real life, and never even attempt to ask me about church. He said I was way out of line since he can't curse, and stormed off. Secondly, when I returned to work, I told the first coworker her husband was extremely rude, and I didn't want to remain friends outside of work. Another coworker who stayed longer at the wedding jumped in to take her side, saying it was crappy that I didn't mention it being a dry wedding, as I knew people would RSVP no, and that he definitely would have, even though he agreed that the husband shouldn't have been so blunt. I told him that we can strictly work moving forward as well. Am I the idiot for all this? Everyone's the idiot here. They offered to pay, and you accepted the money because you agreed to their terms. Getting crappy with them because your guests left because of your decision is ridiculous. Your coworkers are idiots because you go to a wedding to celebrate the bride and groom's marriage. If you don't like how they celebrate, that's fine, but keep your opinions to yourself. Your in-laws are idiots because they insisted on this crap in the first place. This is basically a mess. I agree, everyone's the idiot here, and here is yet another perfect illustration of why people should pay for their own weddings. Do you want a wedding that is authentic to you and your values? Pay for it yourself, or accept the attached strings, and remember that it is allowed for a down payment on a house, and shut up. The real idiots are the guests that felt compelled to tell OP they were leaving because there was no free booze, and to say that they should have been notified. It sounds like OP invited people who didn't like him. Why? To get gifts for a new home? Don't be surprised when they have no loyalty. If you won't serve alcohol, then have a show, a cool band, something. Don't expect people to sit there for hours on end. Expecting your coworkers to sit at a table full of people they probably don't know and just hang around for hours after dinner is delusional.